Hello, Tarot friends, and if you are a fan of historic Italian Tarocchi decks, have I got a treat for you. This is the Rosenwald Tarot, published in 2025 by Marco Benedetti. So this is a recreation of a historic deck. The Rosenwald Tarot is a 15th century Italian deck. Most Tarocchi decks of the 1400s were hand-painted for the noble houses, such as the Visconti Sforza deck. The Rosenwald deck is one of the earliest examples of a woodcut tarot, and it's known for its whimsical imagery and depiction of the knights as centaurs. The original deck is incomplete, but the missing cards have been recreated by Marco Benedetti, who's a contemporary Italian Tarocchi artisan. The deck is called Rosenwald because the surviving sheets are part of the Rosenwald collection at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. The deck itself is most likely from Firenze, Italy. And I normally don't get too much into unboxing, but the deck came wrapped in this really lovely wrapping paper, which is actually a colorized version of one of the Rosenwald sheets. So first, the box. So the box itself looks like a book. Like you could put it as a little book on your bookshelf. It opens. You can see it's a wooden box, and on the interior cover it says "I Tarocchi Rosenwald, Firenze, 15th century," and it's completely restored and colored by Marco Benedetti. And this is a really lovely little added touch, but he customized the box for me. So on this interior cover, here's my name, Anastasia. So that's really a lovely little touch with this deck. I'm Anastasia, and welcome to Anastasia Tarot and Vedic Astrology. This is a new channel, so please like and subscribe. And now let's get into the flip through and review. So the first thing to notice about the deck is its size. It's actually quite small. It fits very easily into your hand, so it's easy to handle if you have smaller hands or if you prefer a smaller deck. It is quite thick. So, you know, here's the deck itself, and it's quite thick because it's made on this handmade artisan paper. Benedetti really spends a lot of time recreating historically authentic card making techniques. And you can see it does have the historically accurate square corners. So it's recreated in a very historically authentic way. So the deck itself comes out of the package with the Magician as the first card, but I'm going to go ahead and put Il Matto, the Fool, as the first card, just because many of us are used to seeing it this way. This deck was pretty expensive by my standards, but stick around later in the video. I'll talk about if it's a good value for the money. And let's get into the flip through. So one thing that I appreciate about Benedetti's recreation of this deck are these really vibrant colors. They're vibrant, but they're not simplistic either. There's a little bit of subtlety and style to the colorization that I quite like. The names and numbers are not on here. So this is the Emperor. It's a new deck. This is my first time going through it, and it is quite sticky. So this is Il Papa, or the Hierophant. Okay, this deck is not in any usual order. So this card, in these older Italian Tarocchi decks, the virtues are often depicted with this kind of strange looking halo around their head, but that is what that is. It's not a funny hat, it's a halo. And that's indicating that the card is a virtue. So this one would be the virtue of temperance. And she would be the virtue of justice. And here we have the virtue of strength. And when strength is depicted in these older decks, she's depicted with a column. The lady with the lion came later in the Tarot de Marseille. So these older decks that show the virtue of strength with a pillar, it's referencing the story of Samson and Delilah from the Bible, and the pillar references this pillar that Samson pulled down to destroy the temple of the Philistines, who had imprisoned him and blinded him and done all sorts of terrible things to him, after setting up the femme fatale Delilah to cut his hair. Il carro, here's the chariot. L'ermita, here he's depicted more as Father Time. Again, it was a later development where he became the hermit holding a lantern. In these older decks, he is depicted as Father Time. He relates to Kronos and Saturn. The Hanged Man, and in these older decks, the bags of money he's holding relate him to Judas Iscariot. Again, Italy in the 1400s and 1500s, extremely Catholic country, even though these Triumphi cards of the Tarocchi deck were referencing a lot of Neoplatonic themes. They also used a lot of biblical imagery. So here, this is Judas Iscariot holding his bags of silver. And in this case, the World card, she also has a halo. It's a little bit ambiguous if she's considered the virtue of wisdom, but in keeping with the Neoplatonic themes of these early Tarocchi decks, she can be related to the virtue of wisdom. And the final card in the old order was Judgment rather than the World. And the trumpet, again, we have this Christian imagery of the Last Judgment and, you know, the people rising from their graves. But in this early or Neoplatonic symbolism, The Judgment card actually referenced fame. The trumpet was this idea of fame, that your name would live on past your death. Now we're getting into the courts. So this is the King of Cups. And here we have the first of our knights. The Knight of Cups is a centaur. Oh, interesting. And in this deck, the Page of Cups is a woman or a girl. Interesting, this Ace of Cups has these flowers in it. And now we're getting into the Swords courts. Here we have the King of Swords. And again, the Knight of Swords is a centaur. Page of Swords appears to be a youth, a male. Let's see if the feminine suits have female pages and the masculine suits have male pages. And again, we see on his shield this kind of interesting shape of the shield. And you see that a little bit in the Solabusca deck, these shields with these different shapes. And as always with these older decks, the swords are curved, they are scimitars, and if you're just getting used to reading with an older deck, that's how you easily and quickly tell the difference between the bastoni or the rods and the swords. The bastoni are going to be straight and the swords are going to be curved. And if you're wondering why these European playing cards have these curved scimitars, well, this is because the Europeans got playing cards from the Mamluk deck, which came all the way from Central Asia through what's now modern-day Turkey, Anatolia, and then into the Levant, which is modern-day Syria, Israel, Palestine, Jordan, all those countries, and from there into North Africa, modern-day Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt. So the origin of playing cards before they arrived in Europe was from the Middle East. Playing cards are originally from China. That is a whole other video. Interesting, this Ace of Swords is using the motif of the hand holding the sword going through the crown. And now we're getting into the suit of bastoni, or rods, batons. Here's the king. And as you can see here, the bastoni are straight, and that is how you tell the difference between the bastoni and the spade. And same thing with this ace. We have the motif of the hand holding the Ace of Wands. Now we're getting into the denari, or the coins suit. Here's the King of Coins. And the denari in the Rosenwald deck is really quite different. It doesn't look like a coin at first glance. So it is pretty different from the denari or coins of other decks. So yes, we can see here that the feminine suits of cups and denari are with female pages, whereas the masculine suits have male pages. And again, these denari are quite simple in this deck. They really almost have a modern feel to them because they are so simple. And final card, this Ace of Denari, we do finally see a card that looks like a coin. This ace does look like a coin. And we have here a picture of a dog or a wolf chasing a hare. Interesting. So this deck is not cheap. It's a pricey deck, and I'm in the USA, so not only was there the price of the deck, but also shipping from Italy to the US. So is it worth it? This really depends on your budget and why you're collecting. I definitely feel like I could read with this deck. I mean, no question, the imagery really speaks to me. I've been doing tarot for 46 years, so the lack of the numbers and whatnot wouldn't particularly bother me. I don't need the numbers. I know what the cards are, and I know how to number them. So I happen to just really love this deck, and when you add in the cute artisan box and that it was customized with my name. So to me, the deck was worth the expense. If you are on a tighter budget and not quite the fan of historic Italian Tarocchi decks that I am, there is a modernized, more inexpensive version. I think it's from makeplayingcards.com. But I also just really wanted a Benedetti deck. He is, Marco Benedetti is famous for these artisan recreations of older decks. So this is my first Benedetti deck, and I'm quite impressed with it. I find it's a beautiful deck. So to me, in my budget and my level of collecting, it was actually worth the money. There's another deck which I'm hoping he'll make, and if he does release or re-release the deck I'm really lusting after, I'll probably buy that one too. So I hope this review has been helpful for you. Please comment, leave a comment. If you have this deck, if you're thinking about getting it, what do you feel about these older Italian decks? Thank you so much for watching. Arrivederci.